Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So have you ever been in a job interview situation where you have that sinking feeling that it's all not going terribly well and that there is a thought forming in the mind of the interviewer that you're not the right candidate for this job? Now, it may well be that the job interviewer has got it spot on, and in fact that you lack the skills or experience or the cultural fit or whatever it is that they're looking for. But what if it is that you feel that the interviewer is making a mistake, and that in fact, if you can get that out into the open, deal with that error, then you have a good chance of turning the situation around and progressing through their recruitment process to the point where you may be the preferred candidate and get the job offer. So how can we know that this is the case, and why would an interviewer perhaps come to some mistaken conclusions? Let's look at that now. The first reason that they may be making an error is that they have simply misunderstood or misinterpreted something that you've said, or perhaps they've made an assumption about you as a candidate and that assumption remains unexamined during the interview process. The third reason may be that you haven't done a great job. Maybe you haven't been able to illustrate what a great fit you are in terms of skills and experience and so on. And perhaps the examples that you've given are just a little bit lame and you have not been convincing enough in those examples. Well, with that said, if we're able to spot that there is that thought forming in the mind of the interviewer, then we've got a chance of dealing with it. So in what way can we see that the interviewer is forming that thought? I think there's a couple of ways that are useful. The first is that as you are making a particular point or answering a question during the interview, perhaps what you can do is watch very carefully for the non-verbal communication that the interviewer is giving you as you're talking, and listen carefully to what they're saying. So, for example, if you are making a particular point or answering a question, they're leaning in, they're animated, there's good levels of eye contact, they're engaged, and perhaps they are saying positive things like yes and absolutely and so on, then perhaps all is well. If, on the other hand, the interviewer is leaning back, perhaps remaining stony-faced, there's little movement, there's little engagement, then maybe all is not well, especially if that same interviewer was more animated at other parts of the interview. So those non-verbal and verbal cues can be good feedback to tell you that there is some thought in the mind of the interviewer that they are not seeing that you're a good fit. The second way in which you can do this is a classic sales technique. We're going to use something called a test close. Now, this is not a close. This is not saying, hire me, or would you like to buy the product? What we're doing is just testing for a response on the particular point just made, or perhaps on the question just answered, or the way in which you've answered that particular question. So a test close would sound something like, does that make sense? Would that be useful? How does that sound? Have I answered your question? All those questions that you're asking are test closes, and you're seeking to provoke a response from the interviewer, and that enables you to gauge how well the point that you just made or the question you just answered, how well that's gone down. And if you feel that something is amiss, you now have an opportunity to say, I can provide you with other examples if you wish, or you don't seem certain about that, did I not explain it, or is there something concerning you about my answer? Something like that. Towards the end of the interview, you have one last chance to try and open things up, flush out into the open the concern that the interviewer has so that you're in a position to deal with it. And that, at the end of the interview, would sound something like, thank you so much for your time. Have we covered all the ground that you wanted to cover? Have we got all the points that you wanted to talk about? And something on those lines. And again, you're just providing the space and opportunity for the interviewers to say, yes, but, or what about this? And then once you are in a position to discuss it, then you can talk about it and hopefully turn that particular point around by clarifying any misunderstanding or misinterpretation, by talking about an assumption that perhaps they made and clarifying that, or perhaps having another bite at the cherry and giving a more convincing answer on the same point. I hope you found that useful. I'll be putting the blog that I wrote about this in the comments below. And of course, if you want to organise a call with me to talk about a particular interview you've got coming up, or indeed the coaching programs that we have, then please get in touch. Okay, many thanks.